okay, it was still a little bit stressful and hoping that the vessel wasn't going to sink, and it didn't. And what's important to note is once we got the vessel to Mobile and we got on board, we went into the little galley area that's kind of off to the side, and the cup that I was drinking water out of and had set on the table was still sitting there. So the vessel wasn't rocking and rolling. I mean, they were going 5 knots, and while 10-foot seas sounds like a lot, or 15-foot seas sound like a lot, it's not for a 1,000-foot ship that's going 5 knots. It's probably just lifting up and down, not rocking and rolling like it would in your 20-foot center console. So future timeline, we're still removing, well actually, that's a lie, 98% of the millions of gallons of contaminated water has been removed. So next time I'm over there, which I go over there about weekly, we're gonna start doing the inspections of the tanks, going in there and making sure that they removed all that oil. Then we're gonna fill it with fresh water and ensure that there's not a sheen on top of it. But that'll also provide additional ballast to make the vessel be a little bit lower come deployment time. So those are spaces we're not gonna have to fill again, but it's also a quick and easy verification as to whether or not we got all the nasties out of it, because there's not gonna be a sheen or anything on the surface. Still removing all the regulated levels of PCBs. A lot of this floor covering that's here is really hot, really, really nasty stuff. And you can't just dispose of it anywhere. There's a couple places in Mississippi and Alabama that you can, but those aren't the most inexpensive things or places to go. We're actually putting it on trucks and bringing it all the way up to Michigan. That's the cheapest way to do it, which is absurd, but whatever, just another thing that makes you shake your head. We're not allowed to use explosives. So not only is this gonna be the world's largest artificial reef, but this is gonna be by far the largest artificial reef that's been deployed with a controlled sink method. So just flooding it with, a bunch of through holes, pumps, and that sort of stuff. So, what's that? I wish. Yeah, we talked about that, but it's too much of a. It delay us by probably 2 or 3 years for them to even be able to get the permits to blow it up, which stinks. So there's going to be a bunch of holes that are going to be cut probably 3 or 4 feet above the water line, all around the outside of the vessel. All the doors are going to be open, all the windows are going to be removed, so that when those through holes get opened and the vessel starts flooding with water, as it starts to settle in the water, once those holes are exposed to the water, things will happen a lot more rapidly. And we're tapping the same group or the same marine architects that helped us get out of Philadelphia. We're asking them to help us with the model that they developed, provide us with information on where those holes should be cut on the inside as well as the exterior of the vessel to make sure this thing sinks upright. The good news is, once we've finished all the remediation, we fill all the fuel tanks with water, and we fill all the bilges with water, the vessel's going to be sitting about 40 feet below the surface. So a lot of the, major voids will have already been filled. And then it's only, 90 more feet, or 140 feet that it has to go in the water column before the stern hits the seafloor, stabilizes, and then the bow follows. Again, this is how it's working out in my head. So we'll see if that's actually what happens, but we're very hopeful that everything will go very well. And we're hoping that we're going to be deploying this in 2025. So hopefully right around DEMA, which will be very exciting. So the artificial reef opportunity, I think we all know this is going to be huge. We actually developed, Okaloosa County, we developed a 5-year artificial reef plan. We're in year 3. In that plan, we said that if we came across a large notable vessel like this, we would throw whatever resources at it to make it happen. We understood that this is an expensive project. Our commissioners, our Tourism Development Council was not necessarily uneasy, but were questioning why we were going to spend $10.1 million. We weren't asking them to spend $10.1 million. We were asking them to commit $10.1 million so that we could get the vessel and keep the ball rolling, with the understanding that we were going to find a bunch of partnerships with neighboring counties, with the state, with Yamaha, CCA, all these other collaborations that we've leveraged in the past are coming to the table wanting to be a part of this. So we're anticipating about $6 or $7 million of this total project cost to be covered by our partners. So our obligation is going to be about $3 million, which is pretty damn good for a ship that is this size to be able to put in our destination. So once it's deployed, it's going to be the largest artificial reef in the world, 180 feet to the sand, about 55, 60 feet to the whole top deck, which is significant. And we anticipate about a $5 million direct economic impact to our community, just ours, not counting the ones to the east and west of us, if depending on which direction it goes. There's a lot of money that's going to come back. So we're going to recoup our money. If we're only putting in $3 million, we're going to recoup our money within the first year, which is going to be very cool. So potential deployment locations, this is what everyone asks, literally every single freaking day. And it's not one person, it's not 2 people, it's 20 people. And sometimes it's the same people. We thought we were good. Pensacola came to the table early on. They were kind of battling for it early on. We decided that we were going to go ahead and partner with their Tourism Development Council. And then right as things were about to happen, Panama City came to the table. And they came to the table with more money, which was awesome. Okay, that's kind of a no-brainer then. But then the military came to the table saying they had a preference on where it goes. And then National Marine Fisheries Service came to the table saying that it'd be less impactful to threatened species if they put it over here. So there's a lot of cooks in this kitchen that are trying to drive where this vessel is going to go. So as of right now, I have no freaking clue where it's going. And at the end of the day, it's going to piss off a lot of people no matter where we put it. Whether it goes to the east or it goes to the west, there's going to be a lot of very upset people. But there's a lot of politics at play here. There's a lot of money at play here. So we're trying to make the best decision for Okaloosa County, but for the project and the marketability of it in the future, as well as partnerships with Eglin Air Force Base, National Marine Fisheries Service, and all the other permitting agencies that have their say. So these are our 3 large artificial reef areas. This blurry little spot here, that's Destin. Panama City's over there, of course. I think this is 32 miles from San Andreas Pass, and then if it was over there, it'd be 59 or something. So,
but all the depths are equivalent?
Same, well, about a 5 to 10 foot difference. So this permitted area down here requires 60 foot of clearance. The one over here only requires 50. But there's going to be a buffer regardless, because I don't trust, what the depths actually are. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the location is still very much up in the air, but hopefully that'll be a decision that happens sooner than later, so I can stop hearing that question. So, what's that? Hopefully. Yeah. So, land-based museum. This is a really cool aspect of this project. There's a lot of people that aren't divers that want to still be able to visit the SS United States. Well, they won't be able to when it's on the bottom, but they've never been able to as it's been in port. I mean, they've never allowed visitors. So while they can see it outside the gate, they can't even see artifacts from it. There's not a museum anywhere that is stood up for the SS United States specifically. So we're going to establish a museum with the SS United States Conservancy, who's the previous owner. They're going to display their gajillion artifacts that they have. We're going to put the anchor out front. We're going to put the crow's nest out front. We're going to put the anchor, the big old, 30,000 ton anchor or whatever the heck it is, huge, right in the parking lot. Put the screw out there as well. There's only one propeller left. All the others have been either scrapped or placed at like maritime museums or other nautical places around the country. But this will be the only museum that stood up for any artificial reef in the world. So it'll be very, very cool. And it'll allow people who aren't divers or even are divers to go and see and learn more about the vessel that's off our coast. So that's the skinny. If you guys want more information or track the progress of the SS United States, you can scan that QR code. If you want to see the 3D models that we've developed, that photogrammetry stuff, you can scan that QR code. I have no idea if that's too blurry for you guys to be able to scan, but regardless, I'll send out a copy of this presentation when I get back home, and you guys can look at it that way. Yep.
Is the museum already being built, or is it
So we actually purchased, so we obligated $1 million for them, but we're actually going to be providing them with a facility and land right now, about 8,000 square foot facility for them to develop it right there in Fort Walton Beach. So we're going a little more above and beyond to make it happen, with the understanding that it's going to be a huge benefit to our community as well, not just the conservancy and the history of the vessel. So, yep, definitely. Any questions? Really? Cool. Yep.
So not at all about the United States, but it really piqued my interest when you were saying that there was a second payout from BP.
Yeah. Yep. Bay County got it too.
How much was that?
About $1 million. 1.1, right around there.
When did that happen?
2 years ago. Yep. They've deployed a lot of their structures already. It's only for modules, not for vessels.
It's only for what?
Modules, pyramids, concrete things. Okay. Yeah, no vessels. You will never get grant money for vessels. They're too unpredictable. They're like, you rarely have one that's just sitting there waiting. Whenever there's one sitting there and waiting, it's waiting to be scrapped. And then you come in and try and scoop it up. So when you're applying for a grant that takes 2 years to process, it just isn't happening. So grant funds for vessels are really difficult. And honestly, you never want to deal with the state on a vessel. So don't take any money from the state for vessel deployments.
So you got the money from the BP money. Was that through Triumph?
No, that's different. Triumph is a totally different beast, and there's been no money from Triumph for artificial reef construction yet. But they just started funding tourism products. So they just funded a $10.5 million project for Northwest Florida Beaches, which is a collective from Pensacola all the way to Apalachicola. to do a whole bunch of marketing for dive-related things, which is really cool. And they're going to ask for another $10 million for the next, 8 years to talk about diving in Northwest Florida. Not Destin.
You guys haven't asked for anything through Triumph?
No, and honestly, it only became available for tourism products or those like artificial reef-related things about a year ago. So it only just started. So Triumph would be a good avenue if you have some projects sitting in your back pocket. But there's Restore, there's NERDA, there's lots of BP money still out there.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
The final product, will it have swim throughs cut through the superstructure?
Yeah, everything shallower than 130 feet is very open naturally, because those were the decks that everybody would go and hang out on. They'd be the promenade deck, some of the lounges and things. So naturally, there's plenty of swim throughs that no matter where you are, there's 4 places for you to get out. So recreational divers, they'll be able to, I say, penetrate. It's not really penetration, it's Swiss cheese up at the top. But down at the deeper depths, that's where the tech guys are going to be having a heyday, going all into the engine room and stuff. Yep. Yes, sir.
How close can the boats get to just go out and watch the scene?
Yeah, so we actually had our first law enforcement call yesterday. Really cool. We're having law enforcement agencies from around the entire country come to help maintain the perimeter. Because as you can imagine, there's going to be a shit pile of people out there. Again, I'm sorry I keep saying these things, but there's going to be a lot of people out there, and it's going to be very difficult for just FWC and Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office to manage that perimeter. So we're probably going to have 40 or 50 law enforcement vessels out there maintaining that perimeter. And you mess around, you're going in. Because there's a lot of crazy people associated with this project, and we are not going to be messing around with people trying to pull some funky stuff inside that perimeter. So it'll probably be about a half mile, quarter mile, something like that. But there's no explosives, so we're actually able to get a little bit closer than what you did with the Oriskany. Oriskany was like 2 miles or something. Yep. Any more? Cool. All right. Well, I'll send you all this afterwards. Thanks for having me. It's fun. Yep.